In the last presentation, I explained you the data formats and also classified the registers. The first classification was based on the input and output, and we had serial input, serial output, serial input, parallel output, parallel input, serial output, and finally parallel input and parallel output. This was based on the input and output. We also classified the registers based on the application, and we had shift registers, and the storage registers. They are based on the application. Now we will study shift register. The application is shifting, and the input and output format is serial input, serial output. So we are going to study shift registers with serial input and serial output. This serial input and serial output is again divided into two types. The first one is shift right mode. This circuit here represents the shift right mode. I am calling it shift right because the data is input to the left flip-flop and the stored value is shifted to the right, and finally we have our serial output. If you understand this circuit, you can easily have your shift left mode. So I am not going to explain you the shift left mode, but I will explain you the shift right mode, and you can do the shift left mode by yourself. So let's start with the shift register. What it is: it is a sequential circuit that is used for data storage, data transfer, and certain arithmetic and logic operations. First, I will explain you the working of the shift register, then we will plot the waveform, and finally I will explain you the use of shift register in a real life. So let's start with this circuit. I have used 4 D flip-flops, and you can see clock is given to all these flip-flops simultaneously, and we have negative edge triggered flip-flops. D in is the input data that we want to store, and it is connected to D3, the input of the flip-flop 3. Q3 is the output of flip-flop 3, and it is connected to D2. Q2 is connected to D1, Q1 is connected to D0, and Q0 is giving us the serial output. So this is the circuit, and initially I am assuming all these outputs Q3, Q2, Q1 and Q0 are 0. So initially they are 0. Okay, and I want to store the number 1111 in the shift register. So what I have to do, what is my first step? The first step is to locate the LSB. Definitely 1 is my LSB and 1 is my MSB, and initially this 1 LSB is given as D3, and we will see what are the outputs for the first falling edge. So I will first write down the inputs, and then we will find out the outputs, and I have already written the output before this input is applied at D3, and they are 0. So D3 is 1. D2 is definitely 0 because Q3 is 0 and Q3 is connected to D2. D1 is 0 again because Q2 is 0. D0 is 0 because Q1 is 0, and Q0 we have to find out. So let's see what we have for the first falling edge. If you remember the D flip-flop, we had the clock, D was the input, and Q and plus 1 was the output. If I have clock as 0, whatever be the value of D, output is going to be memory, Qn. If I have clock as high, D is low, output is going to be low. If clock is high, D is high, output is going to be high. So simply it is used for data storage. If I want to store 0, I will give D equal to 0, and I will have next state equal to 0. If I want to store 1, I will make D equal to 1, and the next state is equal to 1. That's why I have used D flip-flop, because it is used for simple data storage. And here D3 is equal to 1, so Q3 is going to be 1. D2 is equal to 0, so Q2 is 0. D1 is equal to 0, so Q1 is going to be 0. D0 is 0, so Q0 is also 0. So we have our output as 1 0 0 0. So the output is 1 0 0 0 for the first falling edge. Because of this changed output, the input will also change, and we have to find out this changed input. We want to store 1111 in the shift register, and for that initially I have given 1 to the D3. Now I have to give this 1 to D3, and again I will have D3 equal to 1. So this is the input for the flip-flop number 3. Now we want to find out input for flip-flop number 2, that is D2, and D2 is equal to Q3. Q3 is 1, so D2 is going to be 1. D1, the input for flip-flop 1, is connected to Q2. Q2 is equal to 0, that's why D1 is equal to 0. D0 is connected to Q1. Q1 is 0, so D0 is 0. So we have our inputs 1 1 0 0, and we have to find out the output. If the input is 1, the output is going to be 1. If the input is 0, the output is going to be 0. So we have our new outputs as 1 1 0 0. So we have the output as 1 1 0 0. This is for the next falling edge. In the same way, we have the input as 1. This 1 is given to D3, so we have input as 1. Q3 is 1, that's why D2 is 1. Q2 is 1, that's why D1 is 1. Q1 is 0, so D0 is 0. And we have input as 1 1 1, so the output will be 1 1 1 0. So we have output as 1 1 1 0. It is 1 1 1 0. And in the same way, I have to introduce the last bit, that is our MSB 1 to D3, so that we have a 1 1 1 1 stored in the shift register, and for that the output will be 1 1 1 1. You can do it easily. So this is the complete table for the shift register, in which I want to store 1 1 1 1. Let's try to complete this waveform. This is my clock. This is the first falling edge, second, third, and a fourth, and D in was my data input. Initially it was low, then we have high throughout because it was equal to 1 1 1 1. For the first clock pulse it is high, then again it is high, then high, and finally we have our MSB. Now we will find out the outputs. Q3, Q2, Q1, and Q0. Q3, Q2, Q1, and Q0 were initially 0, so I will make them low. And for the first falling edge, you can see Q3 is high, whereas Q2, Q1, and Q0 are low. So Q3 is high, Q2 is low, Q1 is low, and Q0 is also low. Now for the second falling edge, Q3 is high, Q2 is also high. So Q3 is high, Q2 is also high, Q1 was 0, and Q0 is also 0. For the third falling edge, Q3, Q2, and Q1 were high, so I will make them high. Q1 will go high, and Q0 is low. Finally, for the fourth falling edge, all these outputs Q3, Q2, Q1, and Q0 are high, so they are high. This is how the waveform will look, and you can easily find out the data stored in this. Initially, here you can see the stored data is equal to 0 0 0 0. Then for this clock pulse, we have data as 1 0 0 0. For this I have 1 1 0 0. So I have 1 1 0 0. For this clock pulse I have 1 1 1 0. And finally I have 1 1 1 1, and this is what we want to store. This was our number initially that we want to store, and it is stored in the shift register, and it is shifting. You can see it is shifting. Let me show you why we call it shift register, because the data is shifting. This 0 was shifted here, this 0 shifted here, then again here. This one you can see is shifted like this. So the data is shifting, that's why we call it shift register. and it is a very simple concept. We have used the D flip-flops and its properties to make this multi-bit storage element. Now what are the use of this shift register, especially if I talk about the serial in and serial out? In this you can clearly see we need 4 clock pulses. 1 2 3 4. We need 4 clock pulses to store a 4-bit number, and it is very beneficial when we have a long distance transmission. For example, if this is your transmitter and this one is your receiver, and the distance between transmitter and receiver is, let's say, 5 kilometer, and the data is entered in serial manner. For this we require only one conductor. This is my conductor, and I require only a single conductor because data is entered in a serial manner. If I want the parallel manner and I want to transmit 4-bit data, then I need 4 conductors for that, and the cost is definitely going to increase because the distance is large. 5 kilometers is the distance, and if I want parallel input, then definitely I require 5 into 4, 20 kilometers of wire, whereas in this case I need 5 kilometers of wire. So it is beneficial to use SISO mode in case of long distance transmission. So this is all about the shift registers, and in the next presentation we will study serial in parallel out mode of the shift register. So see you in the next one.